well, no, let's get down to business. Let's get started. You know, you all have different types of businesses, some smaller businesses, some larger businesses, but I hope that you would agree with me that our goals are all similar no matter what business you're in or if you're an employee for somebody else. Because even if you're an employee for somebody else, working for somebody else, you should have personal goals that are no different than a business plan or a marketing statement. So I'm going to start by asking you a couple of very difficult questions. And I toyed with the idea of making us say it out loud, and I decided, you know what, I want you to be real, so I'm going to ask you to write them down, okay? And if you answer incorrectly with any of these questions, this is going to be what you leave with today. This has got to be your takeaway. So the first question is, do you have a written business plan? Yes or no? If your answer is no, what you need to take away from this seminar is how important it is to have that. If you need help in creating that, I can help you, or I can refer you to other members that can help you in how to create that. If you have a business plan and you answered yes, have you reviewed it and reanalyzed it because it's January 2011? And if you haven't pulled off the shelf, and if you haven't reviewed it, modified it, or tweaked it yet for the month of January, that's what you need to take away from this program, because it should be done at least once every year. Because wouldn't you agree that in everything in business, your plan changes, your life changes, your employees change, your income changes, your products change, your sales changes, your strategies may change. So it's really important to consistently go back to that plan, that module that you're following. Has anybody in here ever felt like you get up and you're spinning this plate and you're spinning this plate and you're spinning this plate and you're, I'm going to sell this and I'm going to do this and now we're going to do this, and you're like, whoa, I'm doing too much. Because if you don't stop and ground yourself and stay focused and know exactly where you're at, then there's no way to get there. And that's what's so important. And that's why I thought, you know what, let's get real with some of the members. Let's sit down and really say, you can go to a meeting and you can say, WOMTech's not working or I'm not getting as much out of it. But if you go to this meeting and you're this plate spinning maniac, people are going to look at you and they're going to be like, what do you do? How can I help you? How can I hire you? Because you're not even clearly defined on the vision and the purpose and the goals. When you stand up and you share a 60-second infomercial, the goal should not be to stand up and just kind of sell your company. Your goal should be to stand up and deliver a specific need. This is what I need from you. This is what our business is looking for. And so many times what people do is they don't have a business plan, A, because it's intimidating to them. I had a plan in my head for a long time, and I thought that was sufficient, because I knew what I was doing in my head. Why do I need to type it up? When I actually thought and sat down and typed it up, and I had many business consultants or coaches say to me, don't worry about how large it is. If it's 30, 50, 100 pages, that's okay. And I was like, what's in my head is not 30, 50, or 100 pages. What are they talking about? How could it be that? And when I actually sat down and typed it all up and thought through the entire process, it is almost 100 pages in a business plan and a marketing strategy. Because if you don't know where you're going, there's no way to get there. And again, it doesn't matter if you're working for somebody or if you're self-employed, you still have to have a business plan and a business strategy to meet your own personal goals. So the first thing we want to talk about is, do you have a business plan? Are your goals clearly defined? And do you have a true, accurate, bottom line system for reaching those goals? If you're self-employed, it's kind of all on you. If you don't, my daughter says, well, you don't have to go to work. You don't have to go to work. You're your own boss. Well, yeah, I don't have to, but I need to if I want to reach my goals, because there's certain things that we have to do. So if you're working for somebody else and you're going to work, but you're just working while you're there and you're just kind of going through the motions, answering the phone, dealing with emails, filing papers, a lot of those busy activities keep us from reaching our goals, because I can go into my office 9 o'clock in the morning and it could be 2 o'clock before I blink and I still am not done answering my emails. Now, how am I going to grow and reach my goals if I'm too busy focusing on what's being thrown at me and not controlling what I'm doing and what I'm throwing out? So what you want to do is you want to analyze, do you have a business plan? Are your goals clearly defined and are they set? The second thing you want to analyze is, what is the biggest obstacle or what is going wrong in your business? Just take a moment, and the first thing that comes to mind, what is the dysfunctional portion of your business and what you're doing? Your phone's not ringing enough? You don't have enough marketing going out? You're having a problem with your employees? You don't have enough employees? You're having a financial issue? What is it that's going wrong with your business? Because there's something dysfunctional about all of our businesses, or there's something that can be improved in everything that you do. So identifying what your goal is and then identifying what's derailing you. It's really funny because most of the time The things that are derailing you are things that you can control once you get over your fears, once you get over your insecurities, once you realize, there was a long time with WOMTech where I thought 2 years ago, I was desperate. If I could just get a $10,000 business loan, we could do what we needed to do. And it was funny because we then found, it was Cindy Price, who was our financial advisor, she was looking at our policies and she was like, 3 months after I had the whole, if we could just get $10,000, we could do what we needed to do mentality. And I was talking to investors and I was toying with, do I give up control of my company and what do I do? And I was in this huge battle. 3 months after I decided we no longer needed the $10,000, Cindy Price says, do you realize you have $10,000 in this policy you can liquidate if you needed to? How I missed it, I had no idea. But I would have made a horrible decision because I was so focused on thinking that money was going to solve the problem that I wasn't focusing on what the real problem was. We implemented everything without that money. So a lot of times it's what we think we need that we don't really need, and you just have to kind of get real with it. So what's holding you back? Do you know what you want to accomplish clearly in the next 30 days? Do you know how much money you need to make? I bet you do. How much money you need to make? And do you know exactly what type of activity that it's going to take to make the money? Because again, if you're just sitting in your office and you're just waiting for the phone calls to come in, or you're just checking your emails, or you're just responding to what's coming your way, you're not going to get the results that you need because you're not working it down to a formula. It has to be a clearly defined formula. How many brides do I have to talk to in order to book a candy station? How many candy stations do I have to have in order to reach the goal that I have to support my family? And how much time is it going to take? And how much money is going to be involved to make that happen? So I'm hoping we'll be able to kind of coach you through all of this. And to some of you, this may be just basic information. But what's important is even if it's basic, even if it was something that I got taught 15, 20 years ago when I was working on my master's degree, doesn't mean I'm doing it every day. Doesn't mean I'm remembering it every day, because life happens and we get so wrapped up in life happening, we sometimes stop and forget to do what needs to be done and to make it happen. So the first thing is having a clear, defined goal, your philosophy behind that goal, understanding why you want that goal, making sure that it's a goal that your entire family wants to work for, making sure it's something that all of you are committed to, and being objective, that you're not forcing the goal because you think that's what's supposed to happen. You're being objective to the goal, knowing that it's the best thing for your family. So it requires a lot of thought. Again, if you don't know where you're going, there's no way to get there. Every time my husband and I sit down and we come up with this is what we want to accomplish this month, or this quarter, or this year, every single time, you've done this before, every single time, it doesn't happen in the month, it happens in the week. It doesn't happen in the quarter, it happens in the month. It happens so much quicker because we're focused and we're not letting life just happen. Do you know clearly your products and services? I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're a WOMTech member, and they wanted to get a conference booth. They wanted to buy a corporate member and join 3 chapters, and I kept saying, but what do you do? And she kept kind of saying this and this and this, and I was like, but exactly what do you do? Do you have a website? I wasn't getting it. She was so wrapped around doing so much stuff, she was accomplishing absolutely nothing because she wasn't able to clearly define or communicate what her goal was, what she did. And I know you guys know this. You've had people stand up at your chapter meetings and they'll do 60 seconds and you're like, what is she talking about? What is that they're trying to do? Because if you don't paint the picture, or if you're not focused enough yourself, I think that's one of the biggest problems. You're so desperate to keep those plates spinning. If somebody throws you a new plate, you want to spin it. We spend a lot of time in the photography industry. I have published 9 books on photography, and it's funny because I used to talk with photographers all the time, and I would say, okay, let's focus about what you're doing. Let's talk about your challenges, and they would say, well, if I had you as my wife, I would be fine because you do all Jeff's marketing, which is probably true, but no, just sorry. But then when we'd sit down and say, we honed in on what we were good at. We knew wedding and portrait photography is what we needed to focus on. Where everybody that was having a challenge, they were having a challenge because their marketing was sending mixed signals. Their marketing was saying, okay, well, I'm a photographer, so I can do scenics, or I can do senior portraits, which is like high school kids, or I could do weddings, or I could do special events, or I could do commercial. Well, why would you think of that person when you needed something? Because they weren't honing in on what they were doing. And it isn't until you stand up and say, I want to find people that are struggling with their home, like you said, Dee, that want to short sell or that need some guidance on what their options are. When you say something that clear, boom, now I'm thinking of somebody. And I think that's so important. So know who your competition is. Have you shopped them? Have you shopped your competition? Do you truly know who your competition is in your area, and have you shopped them? Not just once when you were writing your marketing and your business plan, because they're going to change their strategies just as much as you change your strategies. People used to say in the photography industry, it was funny, I'd publish a book, Marketing and Sales, and I would give away everything we were doing. And all the photographers, especially in Central Florida, they would run out and they would buy my books because they wanted to know everything we were doing. And Jeff said, well, you're giving them all of our sales techniques. You're giving them all of our tools. And I said, that's okay, because the book's going to publish in 9 months or 12 months. I'm going to change everything by then, so there'll always be 2 steps behind me. So, and that's kind of how it works, because it's true. It takes a year to publish a good book with a publisher. So it's funny, because if you know your competition, you always know how to leverage your business. You always know how it's going to change. Has anybody in this room, you can either raise your hand or not, struggled a little bit in the past 3 years? Noticed a difference in your business in the past 3 years? Noticed a difference in how often their phones were ringing, how much money advertisers were spending with you. We've all felt that. But why is it that some companies succeed and others continue to struggle? Why is it that some companies, some realtors, are thriving right now and others are struggling? Dee and I have had this talk many times. She has to work harder to capture the money that she used to make. She has to sell more houses because the profit is lower. But if you have a correct marketing strategy, you can continue to sell them. You can continue to make the same amount. So knowing who your market is, knowing what you're going after, you can don't be too many things or do too many things. This is really important. Now, if you've got a good corporation and you've got employees underneath you and everything is running like a well-oiled machine, you have systems in place, you have customers that are being handled correctly 24, 48 hours. You've got sales that are being handled correctly, and you want to bring on a new endeavor, a new venture. You want to not only do candy buffets, but now you're going to make cakes. That's great, because your system's moving so smoothly. Now it's okay to make cakes because you can afford to hire somebody to focus on that new segment, to focus on that new area. But if you're in a position right now where you feel like you're drowning, like you can't even focus, you can't even comprehend, you don't even know what you're doing, and you just feel like you're going to drown, if you're in that situation, the idea of taking on something else is probably not a good decision. If you're passionate about what you do, don't just add something else, don't add another plate, just because you feel as though you need to make more money and spend something else. Look at what you're doing. If it fuels your passion, if it pleases your heart, then figure out how to do it better, more frequently, and more accurately. I think that's really important. Okay, how do you do this? This is the most important thing, and this is the foundation of what WOMTech was built on. You do this by making connections with people. You guys heard everybody in this room stand up, and you all did your 60 seconds. Some of you may have connected with people, and you may want to talk to them. But you're not going to connect based upon the words that came out of any of your mouths, unless you're really needing candy stations. That's the bottom line, because that's, you may. You all need a candy station. I think so. You're not going to make that connection with people unless you connected with the way they delivered their 60 seconds. If they stood up and they beamed in aura, like they just had a great smile on their face and their personality looked good, you're not listening to what they're saying in their 60 seconds. You're connecting with the vibes, the energy that they're putting out in the room. Do you guys understand that? Does that make sense? I have members that come to us and they'll be like, I'm not getting anything from WOMTech. It's like, put a smile on your face, people. Like, no, you're not going to get anything from WOMTech if you're negative and grumpy and you're not letting anything positive come out. So it's really important to look at how am I connecting? How am I relating to people? Am I walking around, we call them business card psychos. If you're walking around the room and you're just passing out business cards, you know what we do? We throw them away. You're not only not making money, you're losing money because we're throwing the cards away. I have a policy that you should never ask for a business card unless somebody asks for one from you. Never offer it. If they want your card, they'll ask for it. If you've made this connection, if you've captured this rapport, you don't have to hand them your card. Now, I told you to pass out the flyers, so I'm not yelling at you because this is a charity. And if you waste these flyers, then you're just hurting the Ronald McDonald House, and shame on you. Aura, it'll come back, right? But how do you make that connection? The first thing is you have to build a rapport. You have to connect with somebody. You have to do this over the phone. You have to do this at a WOMTech meeting. You have to do this face-to-face. It doesn't matter where you're at. You have to build a rapport, and how do you do that? Well, the first thing is by personally connecting with them. It starts with a smile. It starts with your image. It starts with your attitude. It starts with, everything about your personal presence. We all need a few good men, But if you're a creepy guy that comes in here and you start like standing too close, that's not going to make a rapport. That's not going to make a connection. We're going to be backing it up, and it's just different. It happens for creepy girls too. Don't worry about it. But you have to build that rapport. You have to connect. I used to tell when we had the photography studio, I used to tell my receptionist, who was young. She had never been married. She didn't have kids. We did weddings and children's portraits. She didn't know how to connect with people over the phone. Well, there's ways to connect. If somebody picks up the phone and they call you and they're starting a conversation, first, before you start selling your business, your prices, your packages, your products, your services, you have to sell yourself. You have to connect with them. And it could be something as simple as, great, Elaine, where are you located at? Oh, you're in Longwood. I love Longwood. You know what? My best friend lives in Longwood. My sister lives. Come up with something that makes you connect, because that's the start of the rapport. It eases people back, and it makes people feel more comfortable with you. So before you're sitting in a WOMTech meeting, your self-defenses, your natural defenses are like, oh, I got to talk. I got to keep talking about my business, and I got to give my business card, and don't shut up until I don't feel uncomfortable, because that's your natural human defenses. But if you sit back and you just get, I love that aqua. That is just a beautiful color. And just kind of talk and find something. Everybody can find something good about everybody. You can. Just make it a game and look really hard. It could be their shoes, their earrings, whatever. Whatever. You can find something. But no, he does have a very nice tie. And there's a way to tie that in. My husband would love that tie. There's a way to tie everything in and begin the rapport. Do you have any children? How many kids do you have? Where did you go to school? Where do you live? Where are you from? Because as soon as you can make that personal connection, the whole dynamics will change in the sale. Identify their wants and needs. Don't start selling until you know what they want. It drives me batty when I walk into some place. It could be, I don't know, it could be when we bought our last car. I walked in there and I went from a BMW to a minivan, and we walked on the lot and it was like, and then they start talking to him. It's like, anybody knows me, it's my van, don't talk to him. It's funny. So they were like, well, what do you want? And I said, I want everything. Whatever it has, I want it. And they were like, no, seriously, what do you want? Like, and they start selling. It's like, I don't need to spend time being sold to. I am already ready to buy. I've already done this research. So you have to find out and listen to what their wants and needs are, and then you can connect. That's step 2 of building the rapport. Once you've identified their wants and needs, you're building a rapport, you're able to connect. Now let's say you're sitting next to me. Where's your jazzercise? Econ Trail. Okay. A little bit too far probably for me. Someone that doesn't like to work out is not going to travel to go out of their way. So a little bit too far for me, but I'm trying to create a rapport. I'm trying to connect. The more questions I ask about her, the more likely I am going to think of somebody that may want to do business with her. The minute I think of somebody and do business with her, human nature is going to want to respond to see how she can help me. But it would take the time of me sitting down and knowing more than what she said in her 60 seconds to identify the wants and the needs of somebody that I can help and connect and relate her to. Once you know their wants and needs, once you've connected the rapport, now we're not selling at all yet, we're just talking. We're just talking. That's the greater commissions in life. Then the third thing is building the benefit. What is the benefit? I don't need gourmet foods. I don't need gourmet foods. I technically don't even need vitamins maybe, or skincare. But if we connect, you make me like you, I want to do something for you, I don't want to see you struggle, I don't want to see anything happen to you. The more we talk, the more you get to know me, the more you're going to be able to build the benefit and tell me why I need the skincare, why I need the vitamins, or why my family might need the gourmet food. But standing up in a superficial 60 seconds, it's not going to happen. You have to connect with different people. Okay, what is a relationship? A couple of different things. I personally believe that people are put in your life for a reason, when you need them. I believe that everybody comes across your path when you're supposed to have them come across your path. I want to talk about a couple of different things. I see members all the time. First of all, we have lots of member benefits and opportunities. Most of our members don't even open up the email. If you don't, I caught myself judging. I was looking for speakers across the nation. Now, I don't know anybody in where are we going? Wisconsin, thank you. I'm like, where are we at? Dallas. I don't know any of these people in these states. So I go to the directory because I always want to start with our members. So I go to the directory, and who would be good speakers? Coaches, trainers, consultants, different people that may have different niches. So I was going through the website, and I went through every page on the website. Most of you don't even have photos there. And how do you think is going to be the first way I'm going to select a speaker? Because your name is Sue Smith? No. By your photo. If your photo makes you look inviting, if it makes you look friendly, if your photo's not there, then I can't even judge you at all. I'm just going to go past you and look for a photo. So are you seizing the opportunities that are given to you? As I continued to scroll down, I saw a lot of really bad photos. And the sad thing is I saw some really bad photos of some really pretty people. And it was like, if you don't think the image is protecting and portraying, are you seizing the opportunity that's there, and are you representing yourself the way you want to? I think is really important. So we've given a lot of opportunities. The deal of the day, Allison Krieger, just yesterday we did a deal of the day, and it was a virtual assistant in, not Wisconsin, Maryland, Baltimore. A virtual assistant in Baltimore said, I'll give away a special. My WOMTech virtual assistant hour prices are $18. I will offer buy 1 hour, get one free. So 2 hours worth of free labor for $18. Those of you that are running your own business know you probably have some data entry that somebody would do for $18 in 2 hours. I posted it on Facebook. It's on our homepage of our website. Within seconds, Allison said, I'm going to give her a call. I'm busy. Those of you that know Deborah's daughter, she is one of those multitasking maniacs doing thousands of things, but she knew to seize the opportunity. So when opportunities are placed in front of you, are you one that procrastinates, delays, ignores, finds excuses, or are you one to seize it and take advantage of what's right there? If you are in this room and are a WOMTech member, which you should be, and have not submitted a deal of the day, a call to action statement to us, you're missing out on free publicity to thousands of people. So you have to take advantage of the deals that are offered to you. The next thing is are you joining WOMTech, going to meetings, standing up and doing superficial 60 seconds, me, this is what I do and I'm talking because I'm supposed to, sitting down, not really connecting, being a business card psycho, okay, and then going back to your office, copying every email in our entire database and spamming people. How effective do you think that is? I get so many constant contact emails a day, it is ridiculous. And how many I get every 2 days, every 3 days, every 5 days? If you're sitting behind your computer relying on constant contact to bring you success, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I personally believe emails will no longer exist in about 3 years. Everything's going to go through Facebook. People will either hear you or not. And if you spam them too much, they'll just hide you or defriend you. Will you agree? Okay, thank you. I personally believe that. It's ineffective forms of communication. How many people pick up the phone and call 5 people a day? Talked about this? Okay, make that your goal. Pick up the phone and call 5 people a day. Just 5, if that's all you do, just to connect. It's amazing what happens when you make that personal connection with people because so many people are relying on text, emails, and spam. Okay, what makes a successful business owner different from a struggling one? This is a fact. It's not what merchandise you sell. It's not how you sell it. It's not the house necessarily. It's how you merchandise it, how you market it that's going to make a difference. Click the next one. Okay, what are people looking for when hiring you? There are 5 skills. What I love the most about WOMTech is when you surround yourself with a bunch of people that want to give you vitamins and make you exercise and do your face and make your skin pretty and do your hair, you start to walk a little bit differently, you start to stand a little bit differently, you start to feel a little bit different because you're getting girlfriends and now you have a reason to put on high heels and get your nails done and get your hair done. You have a reason to do that. When you're just sitting in an office and you see a couple of customers a day, it's like, why get dressed up? Put on flip-flops and capris and go to work with your hair in a ponytail if you want to and nobody would care. The first thing that people are looking for is appearance. This is vital. It's your personal appearance, but it's also the appearance of your website, your business cards. It's the appearance of everything that represents you and your business. The deal of the day we gave away 3 days ago, something like that. Marathon Press, who is a member of several different chapters throughout the nation, they offered a website, 1,000 business cards, 500 postcards, a custom design logo for $995. That's ridiculously, you're in website. Somebody over here is in website. Isn't that insane? That was their deal of the day that they gave. That's a really, really low price, but can help you rebrand your marketing. So many times I talk to people, all the time. Well, my own art director just got her website after 3 years of being in Mom Tech. And she's like, can you put my email address there? And I went, no, Diane, I'm not changing it for you because you don't have a website. You are an art director that designs websites. Get a website. That's like a shoemaker's son, or, it's crazy. So if you don't have a website that's going to represent you, people will not do business with you. Like if they Google you and you don't come up, then that means you're not successful. If you hand them a business card and you say you're a high-end company and you got the business card made at Office Depot using one of their generic templates or Vistaprint, it's going to stand out and show and represent who you are. So they are judging you based upon all of those things as to how successful you are going to be. If you can't do it, and trust me, I fake it till I make it all the time. If you can't do it because finances are an obstacle, there's ways of trading with people, working things out with people. There's ways of starting out slower and then building on as your income increases and as you continue to build. Number 2, qualifications. Are you qualified to do the job that you're saying you're going to do? Now, does it matter what that you're going to tell? Are you qualified? Of course. Okay, now do we know if he's qualified? No. Is he going to say, no, I'm not qualified at all, I'm faking it till I make it? No, they're not going to say that. So how do you know if you're qualified? When other people say you're qualified. And that's what makes Mom Tech so cool, because you're sitting with a bunch of sisters that are going to start spreading the word and say, yes, you are qualified, that can write testimonials, that can do LinkedIn recommendations, that can send you little email blurbs to put on your paperwork. And it's what other people say about you is what's going to make people respect you. Communication skills, how well you communicate. Spam blast, spam blast, spam blast, I don't care what copy you put on it, that's not communicating well. It's the 5 calls a day that's going to communicate well. It's who answers your phone and how personal that is that's going to communicate well. All of those are things that are really, really important. How dependable you are. People used to say to us, how do people give you $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 to do a wedding 2 weeks before the event and not know that you're going to be one of those photographers that are going to leave town? It's because you're dependable, because the wedding coordinator said you were, the priest said you were, the caterer said that you were, because everybody else is saying, go to Elaine. She's dependable. She'll help you. She's trustworthy. Number 5, you can click, critical thinking and problem-solving skills. The ability to spot assumptions, weigh evidence, separate fact from opinion, and see things from more than one angle. A member was at a meeting. Another member that was in her, or another guest that was in her category came to the meeting. Rather than smiling and knowing that she's not going to come back and she's not a threat and she's not going to do her 60 seconds, you can't be here. I'm the person that does this in this meeting. You can't be here. You need to. The lady left crying. Now, is that going to be a good reflection of your business? Or do you think that might hurt you in your community a little? It's like, that's what critical thinking skills are. There are so many other ways to handle it. Most of the time, bad critical thinking skills come into play when you're reacting with emotions. Anytime anything stirs, stop, walk away, think about it for a minute, grab a gal pal or a guy friend and say, I need a vent, I need to get this off my chest before you react, because that's going to hurt your business so much. Extraordinary business goals. What does an extraordinary business do to be successful? The first thing is they're going to sell themselves first, their business second, their product third, and price last. Now let me talk about that for a minute. Someone calls your office, what do they say? Same question no matter who they're calling. How much does it cost? Why? Because consumers are programmed to focus on price. If it doesn't cost what you want them to cost, they're not going to continue the conversation. You have to get the focus off price and onto yourself. And that starts with, well, you know what, it really depends, Ellie. What are you looking for? How can I help you? Let's talk a little bit about your needs. And you're getting them back into the conversation. You're regaining control and what's happening. When I say sell yourself, it's not I have my master's in business and I've published 9 books. That's not what I mean. Selling yourself by building the rapport, by getting to know people. Because once they like you, they have to like you in order to do business with you, unless, click the slide, you're focused on price. Because if you're just focused on price, they don't have to like you. They don't even care about you. They're buying because of price. So you have 2 choices. Now, if you're smart, you'll focus on selling yourself, and every now and then give them a bargain on price. Because now all of a sudden they not only like you, but they want to come back and do business with you because you're adding in a gift with purchase, a free product, something like that. Yes?
May I add something?
Sure.
This is what I learned early on. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And that's so special. I think that's very important. Okay, how do you follow it with people? There's lots of different things, but I think the one thing that I see with different WOMTech members often is there's no call to action incentive for their 60 seconds, for their marketing pieces, for their website. There's nothing that's going to make me want to do business today. Like, there's a lot of WOMTech members that I want to do business with. I know who I'm going to do my cruise with. We've been talking about doing candy stations. Like, we talk about chocolate-covered strawberries or handyman work I need. There's lots of members that I want to do business with. But there has been no specific call to action that makes me do business today, that makes me jump on it today. Now, it doesn't mean you always have to discount, but you could add some value to it. You can add a product to it. You can add a gift with purchase to it. You can give them a reason to respond today. Otherwise, people have a tendency of putting off everything until tomorrow, because that's just our human nature. That's just what we do. Okay, your goal with everything should be to focus on these three things. That picture should not be there. Can you move that picture? It was supposed to come up second. It must be my version of PowerPoint on the computer. Your goal is to increase their profit per session, confirm their perception that you took care of them, not that you took them for a ride, and cultivate the trust in you. Every customer. Now, how do you do that? You know, Jeff, he's so funny. He went to Bath & Body a couple years ago, and I said, buy a few gifts for Christmas, just a few gifts, like 2 or 3 things. He walked into Bath & Body, and he was there for like 2 seconds. I wasn't in the store. I was doing something else. It was like power Christmas shopping. And I came back into the store, and this girl's following him around, and he's carrying this basket that had like 8 to 10 body lotions in it. I said, dude, I told you to go get 2 things. Why are you carrying around a basket with 8? And he was like, sorry, honey. It's just what I do. He was like, but wait, if I bought 2, I got 1 free. And then since I had 3, I got 2 more. And he was so confused. But they increased their average profit per person. They cultivated trust. He thought that he was taken care of, and he got more value in the purchase. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. Okay, so there's incentive pricing ideas. It must not have started on the very first slide. There's a couple ways to do it. You can give somebody a gift with purchase. Okay, that's the first way to cultivate their trust and give them their perceived value. It can be the hot dog, just even creating the publicity of having the Shred Fest and giving somebody a hot dog, just is a way to pay it back forward to the community. Let me show you how this works. If your average sale, and you should all know what your average sale per person is, because your goal to grow in 2011 is to increase that average sale. So if your average sale is $350, if you add an incentive to spend $500, and women will do anything for something free. I know you guys know this. Like, you'll go to, it's funny, how many stores have, okay, Estee Lauder, yes, the free makeup collection. I have to go spend $100 because I got $50 worth of free makeup that you didn't even really need and you don't even like the colors. But you'll do it, and you'll feel good about the sale and good about the purchase because you have it. I get this all the time. Ann Taylor, they send me these $20 coupons, and I have to go spend $100 to save $20 because I'm saving $20, and if not, I'm losing $20. Yeah, no, that's not really how it works. So how do you do this? A free gift with purchase. If you receive a free bracelet with a purchase of $500, your average session, and I remember when I first did this to Jeff, he's like, I'm not giving away a $40 frame. It's like, yeah, you are, because your session goes up $150. So if the product costs you even $50, if it's worth $50, okay, which is a nice perceived value, a woman will do a lot of stuff for something that's worth $50. So Did you hear that? It's true. And trust me, we have what's called the Husbands Unawareness Program, which is a little bit of cash, a little bit of check, a little bit of a credit card, cash back at the we don't spend as much as you think at the grocery store. The world changed with the cashback program. So if you're averaging an additional $100 with each customer, even if you're giving away $50, if you do that with only 50 customers over the course of the year or the course of the month, you've increased your session or you've increased your profit by $5,000 for just that month. So look at what is your average spending per person, what can you add to entice them to spend more, and how do you do this? Now, we started this with our wedding photography when we first started this promo, and it was funny because our brides started having babies, and as they had babies, they were coming back, and they would look at Jeff and they'd say, well, what's my gift with purchase? Well, we hadn't thought that far yet. We weren't ready for, and we would have to make something up, because if they didn't feel as though they could get something, and if they were at $800, they would jump to $1,000 just to get whatever it was, because they felt like they were being rewarded for their investment. Yes?
When you talk about this section of this presentation, first thing that pops into my head is retail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, today we have our Edward Jones representative, we have me, a financial representative, we've got another financial representative. It's very hard to do these things when you are in the service side.
There's a couple of different things, and I totally agree. You have to get more creative, and I don't know what, like from a financial perspective, what your limitations are, but I do know, Harry, you have like that free luncheon that you do, okay? So that's a way that she invites people for a free seminar and a luncheon where you're adding value, no different than this, you know, is where it's a service industry, but by doing this free, you're getting more for your value. I know of people that give like a $25 American Express card for the whatever purchase, and it's easy to give back and to add value. From an accounting perspective, my mom needs to file her taxes, just as an example. I have two corporations, a nonprofit, and our personal taxes. So my CFO does 4 taxes. Now, I could probably get my mom's personal taxes. She's retired, makes a little bit of money, done, how much do you think for something simple?
I wouldn't charge you because
Okay.
I was doing your corporations.
So making sure that you market that as free gift with purchase. You know, have a simple, easy form. With your corporate form, this is free. Now, if you would just say, oh, I won't charge you, that's not something published. That's not something I ever knew. So I might go to somebody that has an ad in the WOMTech magazine or that has a deal of the day, free, easy form, you know, and market it specifically. Do you have a mother or a child that needs their accounting done? If you have a corporation, that's your free gift with purchase, and give it to me in the form of a gift certificate, and I'm even more excited because then I can put it in their stocking at Christmas, and you've not only given me something for free, but you've given me a gift to give one of my family members, if that makes sense. Do you see how you can spin it?
I've always done that. I've never charged for the kids, but I've never thought about it in those terms.
It's how you package it. When you make it tangible, it increases the perceived value of the experience, which I think is very cool. So thank you for asking that question. The other way, too, is to take smaller packages. I'm sure you probably do this with Rodan and Fields, but if you take smaller items and you have chocolate-covered strawberries, you can sell 1 for this amount, or you can sell 10 for this amount, or 15 for this amount. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, but if you bundle things together, people see more value. You can buy this independently, but if you buy the complete collection, if you buy the complete set, they see value. And I've actually had people, when I've done this before, I've had people say to me, oh, well, Kathleen, I don't know if you guys do this here, but like Rooms to Go, buy the complete set, you know, they market it, catering that, because people think they're getting more, which is crazy. But if you add it together, and I had someone say to me, but Kathleen, I don't need 4 of those, I only need 3. And I literally just looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, that's how it comes. And she went, okay, well, I'll find someone to give it to. And I thought, I could have backed it out, but she didn't. Customers will always spend more if their value is greater and they feel as though they're getting the benefit of it. If anybody gives you price as an objection, there are 2 things that you're looking at. You either haven't built the value, you haven't built the benefits, or you haven't overcome all their objections. I did a training video. It was funny. We actually brought in cameras and lights, and the customers were mic'd. And I had done 5 sales presentations, and this was my final one. They were in our studio for 40 hours the whole week. This was my final one, and we got down to the nitty-gritty, and you're done. We got down to the nitty-gritty, and it was funny because I sat there, and I was desperate to close this person. I had to get it on camera to close one person. I couldn't just walk away and not have people see a complete process. So I tried a little bit harder than I normally would. And she gave me, well, I have to talk to my mom. And I was like, oh, well, okay, you know, and I overcame the objection. You know, do you need me to give you a moment? Do you want to make a phone call? Do I need to leave the room? And I left the room like 4 times. An hour and a half later, she went from, I have to call my mom, I don't have my checkbook, I'm not real sure, to calling her sister, putting down the phone and saying, oh, what the heck, let's just do it. And she signed up. But it was having to come back and overcome the objection and get to the real fear. Get to what is really holding you back. How can I help you? If you like the product, if you're looking at me and saying you like the product, you want to do business with me, then what is the real fear? And it could be about price. But wouldn't you want someone to really look at you and say, Linda, I really want to hire you, but I can't afford to pay that much for my corporate tax return. Is there anything we can do? And if it gets down to that, you probably would say, well, let's start a payment plan so we can, by the end of next year, you've paid so much money every month, so by the end of next year you can do it. Or I may want to do business with you, Hera, but I may not be able to right now commit to spending, I don't know, $100, $200, $1,000 a month investing in my future. And if you get real enough with somebody, you might be okay with saying, you know what, let's start with $10. let's just start with $10 or $50 and build up. But you have to get real enough with people to make those connections. So what I want to close with is just encouraging you to be real with yourself. Go back to the first few questions I gave you. How many people in here actually answered yes to you have a marketing plan? Now I want to know. Okay. I promise you, the ones that didn't raise your hand, if you go back and work on this, I promise you, you will change your business because you'll be walking with focus. For those of you that raised your hand just now, I want you to look at it again and go back and say, how can I do this bigger and better and greater? What else could I do to provide better service, to be smarter with my strategies, to break it down not only by the month, break it down by the week, and then break it down by the day. You need to know how many calls you have to make, how many people you have to meet, how many postcards you have to send, you need to break it down by the day and analyze how are you going to do it. And if you can't do it by yourself, then you either need to rally up your family or bring on some help. That's just the bottom line, because you're going to be setting yourself up for self-sabotage. You know, the biggest thing that holds people back is toxic thinking, toxic relationships, and a toxic business plan. That's the bottom line. So if you're not either mapping it all out, you're letting other people knock you down and hold you back, or you're not moving forward clearly, you're just moving forward, you're never going to achieve what you're destined to achieve. The lack of experience, knowledge, or education is the one thing that holds back most people. And a lot of times what we do is we get frustrated, like with our employees, or we get frustrated with ourselves because you don't have that education. And that's why I've always taught that if you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, more successful than you, brighter than you, when you're stuck in a rut or don't know what to do, look to your right or look to your left and ask for help. And be real enough with people to ask for help. I'm glad you're sitting next to each other. It's working. So, pardon me? What works for you? Or this is what I'm experiencing. My phones aren't ringing enough, or I'm not making those connections. Because none of this stuff really matters if you're not focused on the right things. If you're what's going to bring you success and what's going to fulfill you internally. Because remember when I talked about toxic relationships, it can be toxic jobs too. If you're just stuck in a job because you were forced to get in that job and it's not really what you want to do anymore, you know what? No one in this room is too old to make a change, if that's what you need. So, okay, so talk amongst yourself. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Talk amongst yourself, and we'll get started in just a little bit. So, thank you.